Hi, I'm Emily.
And I'm Stephen.
And this is In A Barbie World.
The podcast where we look at every Barbie movie from 1987 to the present day.
From fairy tales to literary classics.
From Mariposa to Mermaidia.
It's time to get unboxed.
Readjust your lippy.
Rock the ball gown.
And let's get our Barbie on.
Barbie presents Thumbelina.
That's a first, I think.
Yeah. It's weird.
And quite right too, because this film's got nothing to do with Barbie, apart from the framing sequence. Oh God, yeah. When I was thinking this week after watching it, I actually wrote notes, which is quite rare for me. Normally, I trust that you've got notes. You'll give it structure, and I'll just off the cuff from my memory of watching it. This week, for reasons, I watched it on a Friday. I thought, I'll write some notes, and my first note is, what the fuck is this? What has this got to do with Thumbelina at all? It might
literally.
And yeah, and well, let's start, because I don't want to colour the show with the fact that this is a weird one.
It's a really weird one. I'm excited to get into it because you've hinted already at how you see it.
Hinted. Outright said it.
We begin with the DVD menu, which is my favourite part of most Barbie movies. This one has it has Twillerbees fun as an option, which I've not tried out yet, so I'll let you know if I ever do. But it's the main Twillerbees, Thumbelina, talking to us, and she's like, "Great, you're gonna start the movie," or whatever.
Oh, it's one of them. Yeah, so I can't complain about my DVD not working this episode, because I don't have it. So I had to rent it off Amazon. Oh my God. I refused to go high definition, which may have also affected my viewing pleasure, because once you press play, my second thought was, what the fuck is this? It looks awful.
It's ugly. It's really ugly. The designs are weird and ugly. We have a cute opening credits scene, which I was excited about because we hadn't had one of them for a while.
Yeah, it was like James Bond, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, in that sort of silhouette. I mean, the music wasn't. I can't remember what I said about the music. Let me have a look. Because again, James Bond visuals is what I said at the beginning. And, I'm not really sure what they were going for. But that was kind of nice. That was kind of different.
Yeah, it was reminiscent of 12 Dancing Princesses had a similar sort of thing.
Yeah.
But the music was really good for the 12 Dancing Princesses, whereas this wasn't. And then we have our sort of bookend structure again. But it's not Barbie speaking to Shelley.
No, because we, as you know, last time was the last time that will ever happen. But doesn't mean they're not going to keep up with it.
And I didn't expect to see it, so I was pleasantly surprised. But it was so short, and it was Barbie speaking to a group of people, children, sorry.
Yeah.
Who were the third word in the entire movie was environment. So I was okay, I see where this one's going.
Yeah, so Barbie appears to be a school teacher, and she's got them a handful of kids out in a field or something like that. That she seems to have some kind of role looking after the ugliest, creepiest children ever put to animation. The head sort of wobble around and nothing quite works.
They're clunky. Let's be honest, the animation for these movies has never been anywhere near good.
No, I mean, and it's not, it's not Pixar or DreamWorks. And I think last episode, you said I know I had a thing about the cat model being bad, but other than that, we accept Barbie's a doll, and they're always trying to get that. But I think I remember in one very early episode, I sort of likened some of the animation to a 90s video game cutscene, right?
Yeah.
But this is now 2008?
Yeah.
And it looks like a 1980s video game cutscene. It's dreadful. And maybe paying the extra £1 and watching it in high definition, it'll look better. But I don't think so. No.
Yeah.
And the movement of the characters is weird. It's just... And when we get into the film later on, the weird universe it lives in of empty space that hasn't been filled in. But yeah, so we get, Barbie's here. She's, instead of Shelley Kelly, we've got a whole bunch of new...
Whole bunch of them.
Kids, but...
And they're fine. They set the tone for what the characters in this movie are going to be like, where they'll be like, the script has told me to bully you, but now I've stopped because Barbie said to. Like, one of them's like, you really want to plant that tree? It's so small. And then we get into our main theme, which they try and push, which kind of isn't the main theme, but it's kind of the takeaway that Barbie's trying to push as the moral lesson, which is even the smallest person can make a big difference. So Kelly, Shelley, whatever, wants to plant the tiny little tree, like a sapling compared to like a little tree. And everyone's like, why are you doing that? And it's like, fuck off, it was one of the options. Like, kids are so fucking dumb when they bully each other. Like, fuck off. And Barbie's like, leave her alone. And everyone's like, but it's so small, Barbie. And she's like, well, yes, but even the smallest tree can make a big difference. Firstly, what is this obsession with things that are good have to be big? Like, don't get that into your head, kids, because you'll just end up disappointed. And secondly, what?
Yeah,
what can a small tree do?
Yeah, small. Well, and it will grow to be big, or it'll die. That's a better lesson. Nature is tough, kids, and
nature is ruthless.
And some things are big, and some small things come in. Good things come in small packages. There's another truism for you. But it was just weird. Like, I didn't understand what they were doing. They're in a random field, but you can't go around planting random trees in fields at a whim.
Really
and
odd.
And where would this go? Are they going to come back in 100 years to see it them being a tree? I know stuff like this does happen, but if you want to, I just didn't understand the purpose of the lesson, and you're right.
No, and it was linked weirdly to the main story.
Yeah, and the moral of the story is just fucking weird. Yeah.
Yeah, because then she links into like, I once gather round everyone. I'm going to tell you a story about someone who was also very, very small. And again, Thumbelina's smallness has nothing to do with the plot of this movie. Like, it's so weird. I don't know why they're obsessed with the smallness. Anyway, Thumbelina is grotesque. Like, she's literally the ugliest main character we've had.
They're like Funko Pops.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's not Barbie, by the way. So that's it. We're done with Barbie now to the epilogue.
Yeah.
This isn't Barbie as Thumbelina. This is just Thumbelina.
Just Thumbelina. But not Hans Christian Andersen's Thumbelina.
Well, she's no fucking Thumbelina I've ever heard of before. Why call her Thumbelina?
Honestly, there was no need to call her Thumbelina.
And let's face it, Thumbelina is the only one with a vaguely decent name in this film.
Oh my god.
But from beginning to end, there seems to be some random name generator which has happened at Barbie Central.
Everybody
has got a stupid name where there are thousands and thousands of perfectly acceptable names which could have worked. But her two mates...
No, we're here with Janessa.
And Chrysella.
And Christilla.
It's Chrysella, isn't it? I can't remember. Whatever.
God,
they're not names. They're not. They're just... And they're not just not names... They have no... So if Thumbelina is hinting at that she's little and the size of a thumb, okay. Janessa and Chrysella mean nothing.
They're like shit fantasy names, like you're a child.
And they're like these...
up a story.
They're like these... The shit fantasy names are perfect. And all of them are like these tiny little Funko Pops with these big heads and shit hair and...
Like sunken eyes
and
like... weird lines around their mouth, but below their nose that makes them look haggard.
Yeah, and the whole story wants them to be able to fly.
Oh my god.
So why not just give the fucking things wings instead of flowers?
Yeah. but it opens with Thumbelina presenting her and her two friends made up wing, like she's like handcrafted some wings that they have to wear on their back like a rucksack and slip their little handies into some like grips to then be able to flap about. But every time they need to make a long journey, they use another method to fly. They don't use this method. So, and there's no fairytopia aspect of like, and then they earn. They're like, you can't get wings. They're not odd for not having wings. They're just things that don't have wings. Except that in this story, they decided to give three of them like shit handmade wings that don't help, except when the plot needs it to. And again, it just introduces this like lack of consistency and this like utterly bizarre way of doing things.
It just that I mean, again, I assume they're in there for the toys, right? And the toys, I haven't done a checkup on this because I think so. There's this race of creatures called Twillerbees. Again, cringe, but I and they've never, and again, spoilers. I don't think this has ever come up again. I don't think we're the only two people who weren't sold on this. And I'm guessing they were going for a Polly Pocket or something like that kind of
Oh my god,
feel.
it's so true. Yeah.
And
like
it's they're just ugly designs. It's ugly animation. The colours are all oversaturated. And this isn't Barbie. This has got nothing to do with Barbie.
Yeah.
That
You're right. Even the dolls look different. You know what they're trying to look like? They're trying to look like brats.
Yeah, and again, we spoke in the first episode that the Barbie movies are almost a reaction to the sort of multimedia success of Bratz, right? Mm-hmm. But this is the first time, and they're big-headed, dead-eyed things as well.
Fashionistas.
Yeah,
they've got a passion for fashion, Stephen.
Yeah, I to be honest, I kind of like. My girls, I think my girls had some Bratz, and I kind of like that faux 90s attitude that they've got.
that girl power with the peace sign.
And occasionally, like, I've turned on the TV and it's either Bratz or something similar with like a horror theme going on, which I guess are inspired by. I sometimes watch that and think, yeah, that's all right. It'll pass as the time. But this is just horrible, and it. Do you know what it feels like? Maybe I should wait to the conclusion. This feels like a TV show. It doesn't feel like a movie.
Yeah. It's true. It's weird. It's really odd. It's really different, and it's fine.
And it would work if they'd just been fairies.
Yeah,
fine.
Just make them fucking fair. Because we had those like weird sea butterflies that lived in Fairytopia. I assumed this would be another like knockoff thing from that universe, but they're not. They've insisted that they're the Twillerbees, which, by the way, drinking game, every time they say Twill, Twiller, Twillerbee, Twilltastic, Twill.
Twillerbee Village. Yeah.
Twill. Like, yeah, it's too. They live in like a little den of flowers in the middle of a field, and they have an annual, I assume it's annual, I'm not entirely sure, ritual where the flowers bloom and lots of new Twillerbees are born from the flower, which is the only thing that is retained from the original Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale, that they're born in flowers.
I wrote down they live in there's like a Thermoscaria Amazon society where there's only female things that are born. Although at the very end we do see male Twillerbees.
There's like a couple of male Twillerbees.
But I was thinking, that's kind of interesting, and all. I get again, like I said last time, I get the audience. No one's going to buy a boy doll of this, right? But just. I had so many questions, and I was worrying so much about Twillerbee Society, I nearly missed the rest of the film. How does this work? Why are these things being born? Why do they look like little girls? I didn't. It's creepy. I was taking it too seriously, but
completely. And there was a point halfway through the movie that I was starting to get frustrated with some stuff, and then I was like, Emily, remember what you and your sister quote to each other like all the time, even here at the age of 30. It's like dumb, stupid lines from knockoff animation from the like late 90s, early 2000s that adults at the time probably didn't find funny or interesting, but you were like obsessed with. And like that's what this is providing. It's providing a service.
Absolutely. And I think my fundamental disappointment comes from, we've seen some fairly good films and stories.
We have.
And we've disagreed on a couple. And one we hated because it was just shit. But I think this is the first time I've been disappointed from beginning to end. And it worries me where this is going.
This is the thing I'm really worried, because we're also reaching. We've got Barbie and the Three Musketeers next, which I'm fucking pumped for. So if anyone's going to be disappointed, it's probably going to be me next week. And we come to the first. We finished the first phase of Barbie movies. It's like the MCU.
Yeah.
Before the MCU was even a thing.
It is. And again, I haven't dug too deep into this, but we're two movies a year. It's we're going to get to 3 a year eventually, but at the moment it's 2 a year. Different people are working on different things. I don't mind them trying different stuff. I liked the one set in high school, and that was very different and a very different animation style. You didn't care for it much, but at least it didn't. I don't think you complained about
it wasn't bad.
Yeah, but it wasn't how it was put together. It just didn't resonate with you. Whereas this is dreadful and just doesn't deserve to be.
It's you know what it is. It's thin.
Yeah,
it's just so thin and hollow.
It's a 30-minute TV show, and I wonder if we're going to see more of this. So as we get to the end, where things are based in the Barbie Dreamhouse TV show and stuff like that, I wonder if that's what we're going to start feeling. Anyway, come on, let's get to the meat of the story.
Oh boy,
because I'm going to just fucking diss on so much on this one.
Yeah, and halfway through this movie, I was enjoying it, and I was like, wow, do we have undertone themes of colonialism and slavery? And then 5 minutes later, I was like, no, we don't.
No. And as much as I detest the visuals in this, and there's a couple more to go yet, it's the general thinness of the plot, which just feels like it's like when you go and watch a comedy film that's based on a sitcom, and it just doesn't work when you stretch it out over an hour and a half. That's what it feels like. It feels like there is there could be a Twillerbees TV show, and this is Twillerbees the movie. And it's not stretched out enough. Anyway, there we are. Thumbelina, Janessa, Chrysella, fucking around in their stupid...
Fucking around. They're establishing their, personalities, which is, brave, neurotic, and ADHD. And then we're introduced to the watership down, to the Fern Gully. A big crane's gonna dig up the field, and we're introduced to this via two parents who, as characters, are baffling to me. I could not get my head around them. I was like, are you the parents from Coraline, but in colour? Are you the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory parents? Are you...
For antagonists, they're just nice. And
they're so nice.
Yeah, and the only slightly bad thing, which is quickly forgotten about, by the way, is that the mother doesn't like little insects and things. She carries around a fly swat, and it comes to nothing.
There are so many plants in this movie, literally and figuratively, that don't pay off.
I know. You thought I was imagining there'll be a scene where she's swatting Thumbelina later.
She's trying to swat Thumbelina, but no.
No. So they're meant to be,
It's you know what it is? It's like somebody started writing this movie and then they got fired and somebody had to pick up the pieces and continue it. So everything that's laid down, this is why I was enjoying it for the first half, because we're introduced to these parents who are very Veruca Salty, where the McKenna, who is their child, she's just quite well done for what this is as a child that's just constantly competing with her snobby rich friend. She's snobby and rich. Her parents have completely consumed and focused on work, and they're just yeah, of course, honey, whatever you want, you'll get. And it's all laid down quite nicely, but then nothing happens with it. There's no real anything.
Yeah, as we'll get to, but yeah, so they've come in their car with a digger, and there was another thing. So there's this big, so there's some sort of construction people that have come with them. So they both, the mum and dad appear to be architects or something like that, and they're going to build a factory. Don't know what the factory sells. Don't know what the factory builds. Are they planning to do the manufacturing in this factory? It's none of it's made clear. And by the way, that's not how architecture works.
Yeah.
And they bring along a sort of a heavy set construction trope, and he's got a female lady who's also in construction, which is really cool.
It's so cool. Like, I really, really noticed that. So that you've got the sort of main guy that's like, my favourite thing is digging up fields and hating flowers.
I'm making things flat.
Yeah. And then you got these three, like, goons, as it were, that, like, one of them's British. There's, like, a double act, and then there's, like, a woman as well. And they're a bit, like, dumb. And they're just sort of like the guys in Fern Gully. Like, this is shit Fern Gully, basically. There's like the guys from Fern Gully, and they're just like, oh, the whole time. And like, there's like not enough of them to establish them as anything, but too much of them for how insignificant they are.
Yeah, and basically the big sort of main goon becomes eventually the bad guy.
Yeah, he's like the third act villain, I guess.
Yeah, but he works for the parents. He's paid to do whatever the fuck he's paid to do.
The whole thing is like, this was your idea in the first place. Yeah. Like, you wanted to do this. So they want to break up the field and turn it into a factory. Unobtainium.
It's like Minecraft, right? That's what they're going to do.
And it begins with McKenna just being like, desperately trying to outdo her rich friend who's just been given an island that she now owns, and there's literally a line that's like, there's some people like living on it or whatever, but I'm sure I'll be able to get them off soon because it's my island now. And she pretty much shows you a picture of like New Zealand.
Yeah.
Which is and I was like, oh, like this is why I was like, colonialism? Like, let's go. But no, we don't do that. That would be too much.
Yeah. And yeah, so the digger, and for some reason, again, this isn't how florists work, but they dig up, using a digger, a load of flowers, which catches our Twillerby trio.
Yes.
And they end up back in Michaela's apartment.
Yes.
But they all got trapped, and there's a whole thing about one of them getting stuck in it. By the way, sorry, we talked about them flying, right? With wings, but they've got magic powers that enables them to levitate. What was? Yeah,
they can like climb plants and vines. They can make shit grow.
Yeah, they're like shit poison ivy from Batman. Yeah. But again, it's only vaguely built upon.
The rules are so bizarre. Maketh no sense. Then they went all fucking out, as they always do, with this fucking dog. There's like...
Oh, hang on.
There's like 8 minutes.
Right, hold on. We've forgotten the other thing. I slagged off Chuzzlewit the cat.
Oh, yeah. I literally put the same thing.
Yeah. Lola the fucking budgerigar is the worst character.
It's a hummingbird.
Oh, that's right. That's what it is. Remember, I didn't recognise a fucking butterfly in a previous film. But it's like... Firstly, the character model doesn't move other than flap its wings. And then they treat it like Lassie. What's that, girl?
Oh my god.
Somebody's trapped down the well. It can't talk. It can't do anything.
It's so pointless. It's a method of transport, which again, they have wings.
Yeah, it's just... And yeah, that's right. So the wings are more like gliding, aren't they? Or falling with style.
Which is very on brand for Thumbelina, by the way, because John Bluth's Thumbelina, everyone's problem is that she doesn't get on the fucking bird. So.
Yeah, I get it. But yeah, basically this bird Lola, who Thumbelina can understand, but it doesn't talk, and it's horrible and it's ugly, carries along a vine or something that they hold on to for long distance travel. That's the that's the thing. But then, so that's animal 1, and then animal 2. What did you say last time? I slagged off Chuzzlewit and you did talk about Sonic the Hedgehog teeth.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Let's play that again.
Yeah.
It's the fucking annoying dog from the other movie, where they found him in the field, and it's even worse.
Honestly, it's probably the worst dog we've seen, and I fucking hated the dogs in the Diamond Castle because they did like breakdancing and shit. And I had to remind myself of the breakdancing dogs because I was like, is this my least favourite dog? And I think the Diamond Castle is still up there because they did break dance.
And there's two of them.
Lot.
At least there's only one of these.
And there were two of them. But this one, it's ugly. It's like Sonic teeth as a dog with Sonic teeth. It's like, it moves weird, it defies gravity, the character conviction doesn't make sense, it hates everything and then it loves everything.
It's horrible, it's adorable.
They go all out there. Whoever was, like, some intern was clearly doing the dog, and they were like, I'm gonna stake my claim here in the Barbie movies and like put all my comedy shtick into this fucking dog. So the dog acts like fucking Wile E. Coyote.
Yep.
Like, it's pulling off shit, it's pausing, looking into camera, and like, I fucking hated it.
No, 100%. This is, I was just recovering from the awful bird. And then the dog came. At least the dog can move. And again, Thumbelina can talk to it, but it can't talk back.
Yeah.
No one can understand it, except that sometimes Michaela seems to be able to talk to it as well. But maybe that's just McKenna. No, you're right. It's a fucking nonsense name. Michaela would be better.
They're all fucking stupid names.
Yeah, it is McKenna. You're quite right. But as with every character in this movie, other than Thumbelina, it just changes what they're like. Scene to scene, motivations, personality.
Oh my god, it's literally like, the script says that I do this now, so I guess that's what I do. And it just means that there's absolutely no stakes and there's no convictions. Like, I liked the parents. I liked that they were corporate Coraline parents, but they were also Veruca Salt parents, where they would just be like, they would come off the phone and be like, okay, I'm listening. Yep, whatever you want, you've got it. And then go back to the phone. And it seemed colder than if they were to just ignore her.
And they live in a weird walled city, right?
Oh my god.
So it's like this really, it's quite a fun, modernist building they live in. I don't know if
it's a beautiful building. It's the nicest place anyone's ever lived. And
it seems to be on the edge of a bigger city.
Yeah, it's like a penthouse apartment in an apocalyptic.
Yeah, but there's
city.
it's like a walled city, because many miles away there seems to be a wall around the outside
to keep the nature out.
No one else seems to live there apart from McKenna's. It is McKenna. I've got it right this time.
It's like a video game.
It's weird.
That's like not been completed.
It's like Sims. Like an early version of The Sims, where where you were just stuck in that one house, and it's not till later versions that it becomes bigger.
You couldn't see your neighbours.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. And so there's no. I just wrote down Logan's Run because it just felt like that's just an enclosed city, and then there's the whole outside.
I fucking love Logan's Run.
Yeah, well, let's not go there, or we'll never finish this show, will we? But there is something futuristic and post-apocalyptic about it, and again, that would be fun. I mean, it's probably a bit much to ask for a movie about Barbie, but I had so many questions.
I want to see Barbie do Logan's Run now.
I just want to see Barbie in a post-apocalyptic future.
Oh my god,
it might happen in one of the future ones. I don't know, but
fingers crossed. Maybe that's what Barbie: A Fashion Fairy Tale's about.
Almost,
maybe,
almost certainly. But you made a really good point earlier where you described it as somebody sort of started on the script, got the beats down, and then left or fired, and someone else has picked it up. But rather than complete it, they've just decided that's it. That's the final draft. Let's go on with it.
It's like they ran out of time, and they were just like, "Yep, whatever anyone needs to do for the next thing to happen, we'll just do that."
We've got a deadline.
This development.
This needs to be out in November. Go.
Yeah, literally, and it's currently October. Like, that's the vibe. And then, so McKenna is introduced to Twillerby, and again, Barbie movies do often do this very well. They because they're so short, they move things along quickly, and they do that by reacting in ways that make sense rather than feeling the need to drag it out. So I keep wanting to call her Twillerby. Thumbelina overhears that McKenna's parents want to rip up the field, so she immediately confronts McKenna. And we know that this because she's brave. Again, this is still the first person with their first draft. She's brave, so we know that she's not afraid to confront humans. So she immediately comes around and is like, "Hey, you can't do that. That sucks." And McKenna is like, again, very realistically, what is this? Is this like a prototype robot that my parents have had made for me? Like, she like moves it around and shakes it around. She's like, "How are you talking to me? Like, this is really bizarre." And then she learns what she is, and she's like, "Oh my God, amazing! Like, no one else is gonna have anything like this." Again, all stuff that I was on board with. You know, it's not fucking Oscar worthy, but I was like, yeah, great stuff, because that so easily could have been worse. This is fine for what's happening right now. But then I literally can't even remember how they become like friends.
Well,
it just suddenly it happens.
And this is the thing. So they spent 5 minutes building up McKenna to be a selfish little brat with her island, and you know, she's stuck on her phone all day, and she's got these friends who are complete
assholes.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to use that. I was going to use another inappropriate word and force you to bleep me out, but they are horrible. But McKenna's turn into, "Oh, actually, Thumbelina, you're really great. I must help you." And any less, nothing is earned in this movie.
No, exactly. Nothing is laid down and learned, because she's like, because it starts off really well. Thumbelina's like, she clocks up, she notices, you know, show don't tell, it's very good stuff. She notices that what McKenna wants, McKenna gets. So she's like, "Okay, tell your parents that you want them to not dig up the field." And McKenna like humors her, where she's like, "Okay, Mom, Dad, can you like not build the factory?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure, honey. As soon as the factory's built, we'll not build the factory." And it's like funny and it's cute. And you're like, "Hey, now what?" And that's clearly what the scriptwriter thought, because they were like, "Well, she has to stop the factory, so I guess she just will now." Like it's bizarre. Like there's no reason why suddenly McKenna is like she like, I guess what they would argue if the scriptwriter was here, they would be like, "Well, you know, Thumbelina grows those blueberries
and feeds them to a dog, but never feed fruit to a dog, by the way."
Well, I googled that. I was like, "Can dogs have blueberries?" Yes, they can.
Yeah, they can, but you shouldn't. They're not. Yeah. They're not. I know there are people like Howard Jones, the 80s pop star, who invented vegan dog food for his dog, but you really shouldn't. They're not designed for it. But I
mean, it's fine. It depends on your dog and the diet that you put it on.
Absolutely.
So my friends have this dog on a very strict real meat diet, so you probably couldn't give that thing a blueberry, but you can give my dog a blueberry.
Oh, you know, they're not. They'll probably have a little. Well, your problem is that your doggy bag that you pick up their poo with needs to make sure it's definitely not leak proof. Let's just leave it there. But blueberries are the thing. Growing blueberries apparently is the thing which turns the dog into a mate. It turns McKenna into a mate. First crisis over. Blueberries.
Literally. Done. Sorted. But before then, McKenna's like, "Oh, I'm gonna keep you as like my slave," and I was like, "Oh, I'm really getting these slavery colonial undertones here." But then they're just dropped immediately because she makes them sustainable fashion, and
yes,
and everyone's on board with it.
Oh my God, yeah, she can. So not only does she grow these blueberries from some manky-looking plant,
dead twig,
yeah, she can also grow fashion bags that are better than bags designed by human beings out of leather.
It's like woven grass.
Yeah.
Bag, and everyone loses their shit over it.
And I guess, you know, it would be kind of cool. I can imagine, for example, creating a I think Americans call them a purse, don't they? It's just not what...
A pocketbook.
Yeah, but it's not what we'd call a purse. Or indeed a pocketbook. It's
like a clutch bag.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Lucky one of us. is knows
in society.
is known into fashion or something. But yeah, I could understand if you made that out of like a banana leaf or something like that. You know, I can see that being both cool and practical. It's not practical to grow it out of grass.
I don't know why your snobbish friend that just got gifted an island would find it cool though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
They're really impressed by shit that you wouldn't think these types of characters. And maybe it's because they're trying hard to make them not stereotypical. But like, you know, she grows some flowers on a tree and she's like, "Oh my god, this is amazing." And you're like, really? Because you wanted like a Coco Chanel clutch a second ago, and now you're cool with flowers on a tree. Right, yeah, fine. And then we cut back to the field to our like sub characters, and they have like a whole conversation which is not unamusing. Where like, they're like smelling the flowers, and the evil one is like, "Do you smell the whimsy?" or something. Like it's not badly written. I could have gotten on board with it if they'd done more of it. Like their dialogue again seemed to be written by somebody that was like part of the project and wanted to keep slipping their own like sense of humor into it. It feels like because that sense of humor isn't seen anywhere else in the movie. It's just with these characters.
Yeah, they're like comedy foils, but they only exist in this field.
Yeah.
And
briefly.
Yeah, and and eventually they're going to get forgotten about.
Immediately. They don't even have names.
No.
Like...
no, not even our third act villain, I don't think, has a name.
Well, he's called like Myron.
Oh, because that's another...
yeah, exactly. It's so weird. So the Twillerbees take matters into their own hands and like Fern Gully the equipment. They like throw seeds at it and get it all vined up or whatever. So you're like, okay, fine. Like we're halting production while Thumbelina tries to convince the head honchos to not make the factory. Okay. And then we're back to Thumbelina. It's so empty. It's only a 75-minute movie, but like it's so empty.
Yeah, it's just weird.
And then suddenly Thumbelina and McKenna are friends now, and McKenna gives her a makeover, by which I mean she puts some like clips in her hair.
Yeah.
And then Thumbelina's like, that's what friendships are all about. That's what true friendship is.
That explains everything. That explains why I'm such a misanthrope, because no one put clips in my hair. Oh, I hadn't realised how true to life and the message of this film. I need to look at myself, yes.
So stupid. And I have a note here around this time. I was like, this shit is thin, but it might... Like, I love it to pieces. I genuinely have the t-shirt, and I will die on the hill of defending it. But I do understand that Fern Gully is shit. And it's pretty thin.
But it's basically The Godfather compared to this.
But first of all, yes. And secondly, like, it probably got quite a lot of kids into the concept, like a lot of those movies did at the time, because my God, were there a lot of them. You know, of like saving the rainforests and recycling and the environment and climate change. And this sort of is trying to do that, but it's not about the wider climate. It's just about this one field, but not in like a Watership Down way, just in like a shit way. And so maybe it might get kids thinking about like, you know, sustainable fashion or not digging up fields because Twillerbees might live there.
Do you know what? And it would only have taken 10 minutes, right? But the Twillerbees outside of our three, Thumbelina and her two mates,
Janessa and Crusher and...
Yeah, Janessa and Chrysanthemum or whatever. I mean, again, call her Chrysanthemum. That'd be better. Yeah. Anyway, we never really see anything about Twillerbee society other than how people are born, right?
Yeah.
So if I had... Other than that they exist, and later on we're fine. They don't really need this field anyway. But if I would be engaged if I thought, oh, here's a society here. Here's more than 3 of them. Here's why you shouldn't knock down this field. There's none of that. It's just that you shouldn't.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
everything's so small. This is a small patch of ground. There's one. I'm going to call it a digger because I'm a 5-year-old boy.
Yeah.
There isn't exactly. This isn't exactly knocking down the Amazon rainforest.
No, and we have no idea, like, their ecosystem doesn't keep anything alive. We don't learn about how trees help us breathe.
That's right. And it wouldn't have taken much, would it? It wouldn't have taken more than a couple of...
Even Fern Gully takes the time to be like, don't dig up the trees because of these number of reasons.
And do you remember, so in the Mermaidia films, there's this sense of this world building. Right,
yes,
and I think,
good world building.
and you did criticise Diamond Castle for its weird world building, where everything seems to like a patchwork world of modern and medieval.
Grecian.
Yeah, but this has no world building other than there are some small creatures that can talk.
Yeah, it's as hollow as the world is as hollow as the friendships and the plot. It's all so thin.
And we've. Through our explorations over the last 14, 15 films, I think we've gone to expect more.
Yeah.
At that, we might not have enjoyed the story. The animation might have been shit. There might have been breakdancing dogs. There might have been weird sexual politics at play. There may have been all sorts of things to criticise. But you've just said it. It's thin, 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 thin. And
paper thin.
What was the one where it was like Gargamel was the Magic of the Pegasus, right?
Yeah, that was great.
But I think we talked then about some of the weirdness in the plotting, and it would only have taken 15 minutes to fix it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think, again, 30 minutes of just reading the script and saying, wouldn't it be good if this or that? You might not have even had to animate anymore. You could have just done a bit of a voiceover or something. And that's what just stopped me. It's fucking ugly. And I can't get over that. All the colours are oversaturated in it. And it's just so thin, and there's no bad guy. Did you ever feel in peril?
No, there are no stakes, there's no peril. You know everything's going to turn out okay because everything is like immediately sorted. And so McKenna sort of learns about the power of friendship, but like not really. She invites her like shitty friends over to show off Thumbelina, which I thought Thumbelina had overheard and knew about, but it's meant to be some shock twist that like, oh no, like Violet, who has a very good design, by the way, very good like Regina George.
Is Violet the blonde
She's
friend?
The blonde friend, yeah, that's got the island. So she turns up with this other character that literally has no name and says nothing except "yaha." It's awful.
Yeah, there's a whole Valley Girls thing going down with the way they talk, right?
Yeah. And then McKenna was gonna show them Thumbelina as like a prize, like a toy or whatever, and then decides not to. But it's like Thumbelina overhears that and like.
I don't. Why does
Because I was like, what?
I don't even know why Thumbelina ran away. I have no idea what.
Because the script told her to.
Because McKenna then gets really cut up and has a complete change of. Well, she'd already had a change of heart. That's the other thing. So this isn't the crisis moment that forges their friendship. It's the weakest of misunderstandings. That's resolved, really as often with misunderstanding, would be resolved in one sentence. But Thumbelina, it's again, the thing is, the Thumbelina does have, she's the strongest character in this, and that's saying, I'm stretching the definition of strongest. But she is spunky and brave and stands her ground. The last thing she would do is just fly off. When she heard somebody say something she didn't like the sound of. I would have thought she would have stepped out and said, no, like she did when she first met McKenna.
Yeah. Or like been on McKenna's side and tried to get the other girls on side and been like, would you also like a sustainable purse made out of grass? Like, she just fucks off, and then McKenna's like, oh shit. Then McKenna immediately goes to the field, which she's able to do really easily.
On
like,
on her bike, on her bicycle.
Bike.
I kind of like the fact that she'd got on her bicycle and not, got the fucking limo to take her or whatever. It was, but it
tied in again to this
it did,
change.
and she goes over the longest bridge in the world, which hasn't been referenced, I don't think, in any other long distance shots. But it was fine. The cars are shit. But I did kind of like her going on her bike to go back. But I promise you, she, Lola, the lassie bird, just turned up again and had taken Thumbelina back to the.
Yes.
To it. And suddenly we're in the final act of the movie, and it's like nothing's happened
so quickly. And McKenna's like, oh, Thumbelina, even if you don't want to see me anymore, you've taught me the power of friendship, and I'm gonna stop the factory. And Thumbelina's like, I forgive you. And then they have this hug, and I was like, is this what the B movie is? Because like this is a weird friendship. Like, did you get those vibes? I was like, this is weird.
Yeah, I don't know how I'd interact with a 2-inch tall person that could talk.
It was
it was
like a hug that was like quite charged.
Yeah.
I was like,
oh god, were you shipping again?
No, I wasn't. That was the thing. That's the thing. I was like, I have shipped sexy horses, I have shipped mer people, but I draw the line at this weird, like, whatever this. I think this is what the B movie is about.
Yeah.
I'm not here for it.
Yeah, it was very strange.
So there was even an idea that I was like, oh, is she going to patch up McKenna's relationship with her parents? Is she going to get her parents, like, off their cell phones and into the arms of their child? Have that loving reconnecting moment. So they spend ages getting the greenhouse all nice, and because it's based on this photograph that again was laid down in the first act. And I was like, finally we're doing some shit. And the parents come in, and she makes a whole thing of like, they steal the dad's phone because that's the only way they're going to get them into this greenhouse. And they sit down and they start having tea, and the phone goes off, and she's like, no, Dad, you really need to listen to me. And he turns off the phone, and you're like, we're getting somewhere. And then she's like, you need to stop the factory. And they're like, no. And then they get up and leave, and you're like,
I'd forgotten about that bit. I've got to be. I'd skipped ahead because it was just so nothing. It's so
nothing. Because then Thumbelina comes. She's like, I can't explain it, but you can't build your factory there. And they're like, tough shit. See you later, kid. And then Thumbelina appears, and this is the worst bit of the movie. Thumbelina appears, and she's like, hello, and they're like, what the fuck? And McKenna's like, this is Thumbelina. She's a Twillerbee. And she lives in the field, and if you dig it up, you're gonna kill a bunch of unborn Twillebees. And the parents are like, oh no, we've got to stop construction.
I know, right? There's so much here about this. They just bend in the wind like the weakest of reeds and have a total 180. But the thing is, they're never really, other than being a bit busy with work, which is hardly. It's not as if she's not like Harry Potter stuck under the fucking stairs or anything. She just gets everything, and they maybe are, maybe they do throw money at the parenting problem, stuff like that. But they're not bad, right? There's never any sense that they seem like, lovely. They both work together on the same thing. It's a family business, and they're genuinely nice people, just a bit busy with work. And instead of, I don't know, oh, look, we can make some money out of the Twillebees and put them in the zoo or something. They just go, oh no, you're right, let's cancel everything. And let's go and...
I thought we were going to see, like, oh, are they gonna try and utilize the Twillerby society? Are they gonna try and make the Twillerbees their slaves? Are they like, no, they're literally just ringing the construction people to be like, please halt production because of the unborn Twillerbees that I just learned existed and now I'm invested in. Because McKenna was essentially implying, she was like, it's basically a nature reserve. There's like wildlife there that we need to preserve, and you can't build a factory. Was her heavy implication, and they were like, no. And then the second they see Thumbelina, they're like, oh my God, we're monsters. We must stop this. And you're like, what?
Yeah, it does. It's
What?
If only all conversations resolved so quickly. I mean,
Was
that
that
was
easy? There is an attempt. There is an attempt. Like, it's like the original script person came back in for one day and added a line in this scene where she's like, you're gonna kill all of my unborn Twillerbees if you continue with this project. And the dad goes, quick, the phones. And McKenna's like, Dad, are you really still just obsessed with your phone at a time like this? And he's like, no, McKenna, I need my phone to halt production. And she's like, Dad, amazing. Like there's one minuscule moment where she thinks they have it, like, but it again, it's like nothing. So then the bridge that had been empty every other time that we crossed it on the bike is now like traffic jammed. So McKenna has to ride her bike ahead of time to the field where the goons are like getting pelted at with acorns, and they're like, fuck this, I guess. I'm out.
What's
And you're
going
like,
on?
okay. All right. So that's when Myron steps up to be like, if it fucking kills me, I'm gonna be the bad guy of this movie. Like,
If no one else is going to step up and be the bad guy, I'm going to be fucking consistent. I want this world to be flat. That's my that's my one character motivation.
This is so bad.
Not the man that's paying me, that's cancelling the contract. I'm going to fucking make it flat if it kills me.
Yeah.
And I don't care if I get paid for it. I need everything to be flat.
And so he starts riding the digger and he starts knocking down trees, and for no reason other than the script told him to, he sees the like bunch of flowers that's where the Twillerbees live, and he just like makes a beeline for it in like a very obvious like, aha, yes, there's lots of shrubs and trees around me, but that particular shrub I've now decided is my like go-to. And
That's
like,
my white whale. That's where I'm going. That's the hill I'm going to die on.
Literally, it's like, oh, I can tell that that's where the main characters live, so I'm going to go to it. And you're like, fuck's sake. And then, again, not a bad scene. McKenna catches up with it after what feels like 5 minutes of Thumbelina unhelpfully and very annoyingly being like, come on, McKenna, cycle faster. We gotta make this. If we don't make this, everyone's gonna die. McKenna, this is all on you. Come on, McKenna, I know you can do it, but you need to cycle faster. And it's like, she is doing her best, Thumbelina. Like, she is a 13-year-old on a bicycle.
We don't all have fucking weird mute birds to drag us around everywhere.
And she's like going up this hill and she's clearly exhausted. And she's like, McKenna, don't give up now. Come on. And you're like, anytime you want to fucking fly ahead and like do anything at this point in this third act of your movie, Thumbelina, like feel free. Again, you're meant to be the smallest person making the biggest difference. And yet here we are with you just coaching on the sidelines. Annoying.
Backseat driving at its worst.
And so it's quite sweet, actually. McKenna stands in front of the digger and is like, stop, in the name of my parents, you need to halt production on this. And again, a very good bit of Barbie writing where the man's like, hey kid, you're the child of the people that have employed me, right? Like, you're just a kid and I'm an adult trying to do my job, so can you please get out the way? Like, this is cute and all, but like, I need you to get out the way. And she's like, no, I'm not getting out of your way. So he's like, okay, like, if you don't get out of my way, I will make you get out of my way, which is the biggest threat we get in the whole movie. But again, it's a very real conversation. I really liked it. It drew my attention again back from my phone. And
what are you, McKenna?
And then the parents turn up and he's like, oh shit, again, like, oh shit, if I knew that you knew she was here, then obviously I would have listened
I wouldn't have
to
run her over. That's the thing that you being is the only thing that's stopping me running over a 13-year-old girl or however old she is with a giant piece of construction machinery. Phew.
And so it's like it's fine, and then the Twillerbees take control of the digger, and she couldn't open a French window earlier, but now she can control a like gear stick, and they all get inhumane strength from somewhere, and they're able to completely understand how the digger works. I mean, even initially when we get to the apartment, how do they know what a dog is?
Dogs, parents, all.
Is
yeah, that was one of my notes. How do they know what parents are? Then I stopped listing things like, if they don't have anything to do with people, how do they know? How do they know what a fucking clutch bag is? That's, there's all kinds of, and there could be, again, this is all absolutely fixable with 5 minutes extra in there. She could have seen somebody with a clutch bag and that's interesting. What's that? The Twillerbees could have a completely different reproductive life cycle, which would have meant they'd have fully understood what a parent is. But apparently they just do, and they make a big play of that Twillerbees and humans don't mix together.
Yeah.
And they avoid them. They
know all about their society.
Yeah.
Even though they live like the people in the village.
Yeah. Right? They look, yeah, absolutely. I mean, they look like the borrowers, but act like the people from the village. Yeah. That's weird.
It's weird. So he then gets picked up by his own crane, and then he's pelted with acorns, and he's like, now he decides that his crew were right, and he's like, there's something wrong with this place, and he runs off into the sunset in what feels like 3 long minutes, where we have a long shot from above watching him run off into this field with like no clear destination or end. It's just field, and they're watching him run and we're watching him run for what feels like fucking ages. And it's not like over the hills into the sunset. It's not like a classic shot you get of a movie villain being chased off screen. It's literally like so flat and again so thin that it's just really bizarre. We're just watching him get further and further across this flat field. Like, it's just bad visual storytelling.
It is. It goes on too long. It's naff. It's just...
It's so weird.
Yeah.
And then it's time for and the only thing that's been planted that gets paid off is that at the very beginning they wanted the wings so they could, for some fucking reason, fly around while the new Twillerbees are being born.
Which they could have done, by the way. Okay. Lola the bird could have flown them around if they wanted to see it from above.
Desperate,
yeah.
Which is stupid anyway, because everyone else is perfectly okay stood on the ground watching it happen, and you don't get a better shot of it from being up high.
Yeah. It's just
so weird. But they invite the adults and McKenna into... Again, these people that were literally about to destroy the land are now invited into the sacred area where the newborns are about to be birthed. And everyone's totally chill with that. And they're like, man, that digger man was a real cock. Anyway, let's see how this works. And you're like, but this was your idea. Like, you bought this land. You wanted to build upon it until like 5 minutes ago. How dare you be here? Like, I was angry on behalf of Twillerbees.
Oh, and don't forget, Twillerby babies are born with their clothes on.
Oh, of course, and little upside down bluebell hats.
Yeah, because that makes. I mean, I'm not expecting complete biological accuracy in my Barbie movies, but it's just think about these things. I don't know. But you're right, and use that word sacred, because there is that. This is a once a year wonderful thing that can happen, and you're right. The people that are just about to kill you all, come on in. Come on in. I know it's a very Christian thing to do, but forgiveness and all that. But weird,
so
weird.
In like a really boring sequence where all the flowers just raise up and sparkle and open, and you're like, again, like. The imagination that we've seen in these movies before, like, this was just unimaginative. I was like, this is boring and it's lasting forever. And it makes no sense and I don't care for it. And then the dad is like, again, within 2 sentences, he's like, but how are we... She's like, I'm so glad that we didn't murder all these children. And then he's like, but if we wanted to murder these children, then someone else is gonna also want to murder these children. How do we make sure that that doesn't happen? And then immediately he's like, oh, I've got an idea. And you're like, so why did you say that out loud?
Yeah.
Why didn't you just...
Yeah, isn't this an idea they'd already dissed as well?
Yeah.
I thought they dissed the whole nature reserve thing, and now he just says, yeah, no. I mean, have they, again, have they bought this land?
I assume they've bought the land, so like there's no reason as to why...
Anybody else would build on it, right? They've bought the land.
You own it.
Yeah, it's weird.
So stupid.
No, it's not
so we
stupid,
come back,
that's a better word.
And we don't even learn that from him. We cut back to Barbie in her little nature reserve, who's like, and they turned it into a nature reserve. And then we get the big M. Night Shyamalan twist at the end, where the children are like, oh, but if the Twillerbees live in a nature reserve, and we're in a nature reserve, are we in the Twillerbees nature reserve? Which would have been...
Inception!
Would have been a cute, ambiguous little like, oh, well, if we dream real hard, kids, maybe there are fairies in the shrubbery.
Yeah.
But no, there are actually fairies in the shrubbery.
So she sends the kids off on a wild goose chase, looks up to a tree where we see the 3 Twillerby friends sitting there, and there's like a big wink or something goes on. And
there's like a weird line where she's like, I didn't get stuck in the flower, as though like all of those events actually happened, but Barbie has slightly told them differently, or like maybe they didn't happen.
Yeah, it's
like what?
yeah, because there's the one of the Twillerby, I can't remember if it's Chrysanthemum or Jessica or whatever their names are, Janessa, couldn't get, when they got to the apartment, hadn't been able to break free of the flower she'd been hiding in.
Yeah, it lasted like 7 minutes.
And we'd all forgotten about it. And like you say, so it's like, so is Barbie an unreliable narrator? What
yeah, like, did this happen? Did it not? And also, like, I'm 7. I don't care.
Like... And even if it would be nicer if it had been a repeated joke, like, but we never see Janessa and Chrysanthemum after they go back. All their actions until the finale are suggested when we see the whole poison ivy taking over the stuff. You know, we don't really go back to them. So why is she still harping on about something which happened 60 minutes ago that was shit anyway?
Is it meant to be a character thing where she's like, well, I didn't do that, and everyone's like, yes, you did, like, just admit it?
Yeah.
Or is it like a genuinely, like, I didn't do that, and Barbie's an unreliable narrator?
Yeah.
Or how does Barbie know them? How does Barbie... What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Where was Wouldn't it have been cool if Barbie was McKenna? Or she'd been the shitty friend or something, you know. If there's something to tie how she knows any of this up.
Because usually the structure works because it is a one-off story that Barbie tells as though it's like a fairy tale to a younger Barbie. And then it works.
It's a fable that she's telling to teach a lesson. Whereas this
had a weird blurred line.
Yeah, this is a fable that really happened, apparently. And
maybe.
Well, yeah. Weird. I keep saying weird. Weird's the wrong word. Stupid. You said it earlier. Yeah. This movie is just stupid. Calling it weird gives it too much credit.
Yeah, like Magic of Pegasus was weird.
Yeah.
This is stupid.
Yeah, it is just stupid. Sigh.
Oh, God. Yeah, like, let me get my letterboxd up because we need to... And even then, we were with these Twillerbees in the tree, and I was like, roll credits. And it didn't. And they kept talking, and I was like, please end. And it's only 75 minutes, but it dragged. Because, like, nothing happened.
Yeah, I know exactly where I want to put this. But at the same time... It didn't upset me. It didn't.
No, and a lot of it I was okay with.
Yeah, it just felt like a TV show pilot that had been stretched out. It happened a lot in the 70s and 80s. TV shows would get these sort of feature-length pilots, and they get shown on TV, and the success of that pilot, things like Battlestar Galactica and things like that, started out as TV show pilots, and the response to the audience of that pilot meant whether the TV show got made. And this is like a shit version of that, because I guess if it had been really successful and millions of DVDs have been sold, we'd get the Twillerby trilogy or a Twillerby TV show on Playhouse Disney or something like that. I think that's the sort of time we're in, aren't we? But instead it just felt shit. And do you know, like, we've talked about movies and at least you thought, oh, the dolls would be good. A doll with a, you know, even some of the weaker movies, the dolls might be good, or they've clearly sold, they've created this movie to sell some dolls, and maybe like the Island Princess. Like, I don't think you were a huge fan of it. I liked it, but the dress was amazing, and blah blah blah. This has just got nothing. But it didn't make me angry. I was just bored, which I think is what you've said, and I never want to see Twillerbees again.
Yeah,
I never want to say the word again. I never want to see it written down. I'm going to block the site on the Barbie movie Wikipedia. All those things. I just want it to disappear. But however, it's not as bad as the third Fairytopia film.
It's not. It's not even as bad as Barbie and the Diamond Castle. I'm going to put it out there. Well,
because you got extraordinarily angry. But
I fucking hate them.
They are our bottom two, I think.
They are. Do you know what? I wish I could tie it with Barbie and the Rockers Out of This World.
No, Barbie Rockers Out of the World is better than this. I mean, that's full of similar weird shit and nonsensical science. So it's got that in common with it. But that had some songs in it that were quite cool. You know, I felt that was like a Go-Go's movie. This hasn't even got music. After that weird James Bond opening, it was downhill from there. I don't hate it, but I have no feelings for it, and therefore I put it between Diamond Castle and Barbie and the Rockers, and I wasn't expecting Barbie and the Rockers to actually go up in any of our.
I know, right? Oh god, I do worry that we're going to be seeing this end of the leaderboard for a while now.
I maybe, and its biggest crime is we have had plenty of movies which are based on fairy tales or ballets, or you've had a couple on ballets, or sort of well-known stories, right? And it's ploughed its own furrow, but at least we've had characters that either have got the same names or the same themes, or, you know, like Christmas Carol, right? No one's called Scrooge or anything like that, but we get what they're doing, yeah. Even Nutcracker, it has characters from the Nutcracker opera. Swan Lake has nothing. The story's nothing like the story of Swan Lake, but it's still got.
But there's the vibe there,
and there's swans and lakes. This has got nothing to do with Thumbelina. It should just be called Barbie and the Twillerbees, and that would be fine.
Literally, and Barbie presents the Twillerbees. Like, let's introduce them as the concept that you clearly want them to be.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, Thumbelina's one of those dark stories, isn't it? One of those dark fairy tales that needs, I don't know. Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah, it's about like a child bride being shoved from suitor to suitor.
Absolutely. There's and maybe that's not really suitable for a Barbie movie. I mean, are any of these fairy tales suitable for a Barbie movie?
More Kens in. Could have opened up the Ken brand.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm just in a really weird place about it. And actually, I think you're quite right. The worry is, are we going to have a lot of this now?
Yeah, I'm really scared that I've been pushing and pushing. Even today I was having a conversation and I was like, honestly, truly, these movies are good. like, and not just good for what they are, they're like good. And now they've stopped being good.
Yeah. Well, no, Christmas Carol's all right, but this
Christmas Carol's all
this is it's more than all right. But this is that worrying point we've been expecting since the beginning. This is the first one that I'm never going to watch again. For any reason. There's nothing. There's no reason to watch it because it's shit, and there's no reason to show anybody because there's some shit stuff in it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I could show Diamond Castle, because there was good bit in Diamond Castle. Remember the sort of the sort of fantasy house that her mate got drawn into. That's kind of cool. And we could at least say, look at these shit dogs.
Look at these fucking stupid dogs.
And all that. There's nothing in here I want to say, but look at the design of the Twillerbees. Look at how brilliant this dog is with its teeth.
Yeah.
Look how brilliant that fucking, what do you say it was, a hummingbird is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing in here. But
it doesn't. It's not even weird like the sea turtles that we've
Oh
seen,
God, I'm just having a flashback to that.
Or the elephant with eyelashes.
or like there was general peril. We're going to poison the ocean and kill everybody in it. That is fucking peril, right?
Yeah.
This we're going to stop this. I mean, it's so easily fixed as well. Just dig it up and put it somewhere else. So yeah, okay, I'm groovy. I'm groovy to have it there. Yeah. But I think there will be worse. Right, okay. I'm ready now for the Musketeers.
I'm so ready for the Musketeers.